So last week we were looking at how the path of establishing mind and intelligence in Krishna. So we were looking at Swami was talking. We were looking at the example of the lamp, which is 1 minute. I think I'm in wrong slide. Swami was talking about 20 qualities which are like essential for wisdom. So now we'll go into each one of those qualities one by one. So first, Swami says there is one point here that aspirants have to note carefully. The lamp, the wick, and the oil must be proportionate. If the wick is too big or too small for the lamp, if the oil is too much or too little for the wick, or if the lamp is too small or too big for the oil or the wick, the flame will not burn brightly and give light. So, clear, steady light can be secured only when all three are in proper proportion. The three qualities or the gunas must also be in equilibrium to yield the maximum result or liberation. So, Swami says that all the three gunas should be in proportion in order to we have to experience the complete result of the knowledge, that is liberation. So, the three qualities are bonds. People are bound by them like a cow whose forelegs are tied together, whose hind legs are also bound, and whose neck and horns are bound by a third bond. So here Swami compares the three gunas to three ropes which ties a cow, like both its front legs and back legs, and also the neck is also tied. So the threefold qualities are such threefold bonds. So how can a poor beast move freely when it is bound so? Purity or sattva guna is a golden rope. Passion or rajoguna is a copper rope, and dullness tamoguna is an iron rope. So all three bind effectively in spite of the difference in the cost of material. As bonds, all three are obstacles to freedom of movement. So Swami says that Sattva Guna is like a golden rope, Rajoguna is like a copper rope, and Tamoguna is like an iron rope. But in spite of the difference in material, all three are binding equally, and all three restrict the movement of the cow. So Arjuna asks, "Oh Lord, you said that 20 virtues are essential for becoming entitled to wisdom. What are they? Please describe them to me in some detail." So to which Lord Krishna replies, "Arjuna, I am delighted at your earnestness. Listen." So the first quality Swami talks about is humility. The first virtue is humility, the absence of pride. As long as you have pride, you cannot earn wisdom. A person's behavior should be like the behavior of water. Whatever color you pour into water, it absorbs it and never asserts its own color. It is humble without conceit. But now the behavior of people is quite contrary. When they do the smallest service or donate the slightest amount, they are anxious for people to know about it. For this, they go about prattling or arranging to get it published. The absence of such pride and ambition is what is recommended as humility. So here Swami says that we should not, have the ego for even achieving the greatest things, but people nowadays they have that kind of an ego for even the smallest kind of things we get the pride. So such kind of a thing we should not have, and we should always be humble. And Swami gives the example of water, which takes the color of whatever is added to it, and it never asserts its own color. Second is again, it is a related quality. Swami talks about absence of vanity. So the second is absence of vanity. This is a very great virtue in people. It means the absence of pretense, pompousness, boasting that one is great when one is not, claiming that one has the power when one has done nothing, and that one has the authority when no one has such title. So here Swami talks about, we should not be pretentious, or we should not be very boasting of what we have achieved, and we should talking about, I have done such a thing, and when we have no such kind of a thing. So here Swami says, readers will note one point: the world today is full of this false pretense, this hypocrisy. Whichever field of activity you watch, whomever you observe, you discover this dire defect. The governments of nations are in the hands of people who are pretenders to power, authority, and capacity. Those with no knowledge claim to know everything. Those with no one even to help them at home claim that they have a huge following. In every activity, this hypocrisy is the first step. It ruins people in every field like a pest that destroys the crop. If hypocrisy is wiped away, the world will be saved from disaster. So here Swami talks about, doing like having one thing as a reality but talking about something else. So that is the hypocrisy that Swami talks about. So if we don't have such kind of a thing, Swami says that the world can be saved from disaster. Ignorance will make you lose this world and the next. It is harmful at all times and places. It does not suit ordinary people. How can it then be beneficial to the spiritual aspirant? Then the third quality Swami talks about is non-violence. The third virtue is non-violence or ahimsa. This also is an important virtue. Violence is not simply physical. It means even more. The mental pain that is inflicted, the anxiety and the worry that are caused to others by your actions and words. If you desist from causing physical pain to others, you cannot claim to have non-violence. Your activities must not cause pain and must be unselfish. Your words, thoughts, and deeds must all be free from any motive to cause such pain. So here Swami talks about non-violence, even like not just physically, but also mentally. And Swami says it should be free from, our action should be free from violence as well as selfishness. And Swami says we should not even have the motive to cause pain. So that's the kind of the route that we should take to performing our actions. So that basically constitute non-violence. And the fourth attribute Swami talks about is patience or fortitude. The fourth is patience or fortitude. Kshama, also called sahana. It means that you should consider as unreal the evil others do unto you, the loss you suffer through them, and the hatred they evince towards you. Treat these as you treat a mirage. That is to say, you must develop that degree of patience or fortitude. It's not the helpless putting up with the evil that others do because you are powerless to retaliate. It is the expression of the peace that reigns in the heart, this outer behavior. So here Swami says that we should treat whatever bad things others do to us as something that did not happen, or we should treat it with the less less kind of retaliation or something of that mindset. We should treat this as a mirage, is what Swami says. And Swami says it should not be like, okay, we cannot do anything against it, so that that should not be the reason why we are not retaliating, but rather we should consciously know that okay, I should not do this, and I should not retaliate to something what others do to me. It is true that many people put up with the injury that others inflict because they lack physical, economic, or popular support. This suffering cannot be honored as real fortitude. So Swami says some people are unable to retaliate, and they are in a position not to uh, uh, respond to whatever evil that others do to them. So due to physical, economic, or no support, so that cannot be treated as the patience or fortitude. The fifth quality that Swami talks about is integrity. Next, let's consider the fifth: straightforwardness, integrity, sincerity. It means the agreement of action, speech, and thought. This applies to secular and spiritual activity. This is a facet of the second virtue, that is the absence of vanity. So here Swami says through absence of vanity we can attain the integrity, or the fifth quality that Swami talks about. Swami says it is basically the concurrence of the thought, word, and deed, action, speech, and thought. So this applies to both spiritual as well as secular activity. And the sixth quality Swami talks about is reverential service rendered to the spiritual teacher. The sixth is the reverential service rendered to spiritual teacher. This virtue will promote affection for the pupil, so one will benefit a great deal. But the guru who has no goal will only mislead the disciple into perdition. The guru must shower grace on the disciple as freely and as spontaneously as the mother cow feeds the young calf with milk. The teaching of the guru is the source and the sustenance for attaining God and acquiring liberation. So here Swami talks about service to gurus, and uh, this goes in two ways. Like even the guru should be capable of leading the teacher, leading the student into the right path, and the when the teacher renders a selfless service to the guru, and that is the best way to attain liberation, is what Swami says. And the seventh virtue is cleanliness or shaucham, not merely outer cleanliness but inner cleanliness. And what is inner cleanliness? The absence of affection and hatred, of desire and discontent, of lust and anger. The presence of good, that is godly qualities. Water cleans the body, truth cleans the mind. Knowledge cleans the reasoning faculty. Penance and discipline cleans the individual. So here Swami says that, just like how water cleans the body, truth can clean the mind and knowledge can clean the intellect, and penance and discipline cleans individual completely as a whole. And the eighth quality Swami talks about is steadfastness or sthairiam, fixity of faith, and the absence of fickleness or waywardness. So Swami says aspirants must hold fast to what they have once fixed as their faith upon as conducive to their spiritual progress. So once we have faith on something, we should not like stray away from it, is what Swami says, and they should not flit from one ideal to another, changing their goal from day to day. This is also referred to as dedication. Fickleness, the product of weakness, has to be scrupulously avoided. So here Swami says dedication is the same thing, and we should not be like changing our goal from one day to another day. So that kind of a thing should be avoided. And the ninth one is the control of senses. Be convinced that the senses have to subserve your best interest, not that you should subserve the interest of the senses. Do not be the slave of the senses, but rather make them your slaves. And tenth one is detachment. Detachment or renunciation, vairagya, the loss of appetite for sound, touch, form, taste, smell, etc. The senses run after these things because they titillate and give them temporary joy. However, the senses are not interested in the goals of virtue, wealth, desire, liberation of the sublime type. The Atma can be discovered only through the pursuit of the sublime. So here Swami says detachment or vairagya is the 10th quality that is needed. So it basically refers to the giving up the taste for the five sense objects, and when we give them up, we can actually attain Atma Jnana, is what Swami says. Then the 11th one is absence of egoism, the breeding ground of all vices and faults. Like we discussed in chapter 20, I guess I am 20 or 21, I'm not sure. But the egocentric individual pays no regard to right and wrong, good and bad, godly and wicked. That person doesn't care for them, doesn't even know about them. That person is completely ignorant of dharma and morals and will not conform to justice. To be devoid of this poisonous quality is to be endowed with the absence of egoism. Egoism is a foe in the guise of a friend. So we have already seen how egoism is actually the root for all the other 6 evil qualities. So when Swami basically says when we are devoid of ego, we'll be devoid of every other bad quality, and that person can actually is by default going into the path of liberation. And the 12th quality that Swami talks about is awareness of birth, death, senility, illness, and grief. The next virtue is called Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Dosha Anudarshanam, meaning only this: the awareness of the inevitable cycle of birth and death, of senility and disease, of grief and evil, and of other signs of temporariness of this created world and life in it. Although people see these things happening to them as well as others, they do not investigate the reasons for them and the methods of escaping from them. That is the greatest mystery, the wonder. Like we have studied in the life of Buddha, uh, we do not we like Lord Buddha wanted to the Prince Siddhartha, he wanted to inquire why people grow old and why do people have diseases. So we actually don't do that, is what Swami says. And when we try to look at that, and when we are aware of the Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, Dukkha and Dosha, we'll be able to understand why we are actually trapped in the cycle of birth and death. And we'll actually go about to finding out the way to escape from this cycle. So only if you go to the root of the problem, you will realize that whatever else you may escape, you cannot escape death. What people conceive as happiness now is in reality only misery in the guise of happiness. So understand the truth of these things, reflect upon the flaws in the reasoning that delude you. Then, as a result, detachment is strengthened, and through that you attain wisdom. Therefore, Arjuna, liberate yourself from birth, death, senility, illness, and grief. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, and Dukkha. Thus spoke Krishna, exhorting Arjuna with a great deal of affection. So, Sairam, I think we have covered 12 qualities today. Next week, we'll cover the rest of the 8 qualities, Sairam. If there is anything to be discussed, we can have a discussion now. Otherwise, Auntie can continue with chapter 9.
Yes, sir. We will wait for 1 minute, then we will start.
Sure, sure.
Okay, so we'll start. Yeah, continuing with Raja Vidya Sairam told, we are continuing with Raja Vidya Raja Kusha Yogam. Last week I explained verse 27. This week it is verse 28. I'll read out the verse. Shubha Shubha Falai Revam Mokshasya Karma Bandhanaihi Sannyasa Yoga Yuktatma Vimukto Mamupaisyasi. So I'll read me word by word meaning. Then I'll read the verse again. Shubha Shubha Falai, from the good and evil fruits. A Evam means thus, mokshasya means shall be freed. Karma bandhanaihi means from the bonds of actions. Sannyasa yoga yuktatma, with the mind steadfast in the yoga of renunciation. Vimuktaha means liberated. Mama means to me. Mam means to me. Upaishasi means shall come. So Shubha Shubha Falai Devam Mokshase Karma Bandhanaihi Sannyasa Yoga Yuktatma Vimukto Mam Upaishasi. So translation, by dedicating all your work to me, you will be freed from the bondage of good and bad results. With your mind attached to me through the renunciation, you will be liberated and will reach me. In this way, you will be freed from all reactions to good and evil deeds. By this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me. Means everything if we offer it to Lord Shri Krishna or whomever we contemplate, all actions we have to surrender it to God, then we'll be liberated from this cycle of life and death. This karmic, yeah. If we say that I do that, then we'll be bound to good and bad actions. So that is the translation. Here, if we have to lead life on earth, we have seen that in the Narayana Upanishad and Panchapata, Kopapata, there are five types of sins without I mean, the daily routines only. It we eat the curd, we eat the curd and drink water. In that, some Sukshma Rupa living beings, some things will be some yeah, what we call not getting the word, yeah, so without talking to anyone, if we just carry the daily routine, we'll be committing five types of sins. We have seen panchapata, kopapataka. If we use the chula and also Monish Vyasa sir has explained that we daily routines only it causes five types of sin, and to get rid of those sins, we chant the Narayana Upanishad and other Vedas. But yeah, we cannot sit without doing anything. We have to do our daily routines and do the duties also. When we dedicate all our work to God, we'll not be bound to any actions. Yeah, so however, in this verse, Shri Krishna gives us simple solutions for destroying all karmic reactions of work. He uses the word sannyasa yoga, means renunciation of all selfishness. He says that when we dedicate our actions for the pleasure of Lord, we are freed from the both good and bad results. Those who establish themselves in such a consciousness are called as yoga yuktatma, united in the consciousness with God. Such yogis become jiva mukta, liberated in the consciousness, even in this body. And upon leaving their mortal frame, they receive the divine body and eternal service in the divine abode of God. So, yeah. However, I said all the daily routines and our duties we have to do it, and when we dedicate all the actions to God, we get rid of karmic. If it is good, also it will. If it is a good karma, also will have a bondage. If it is bad, also we have to suffer. So if we want the liberation, we have to dedicate all the actions to Lord Shri Krishna. 1 minute, I'll read the commentary. Yeah. When you do offer everything to me, renunciation of the results of all works in sannyasa, he who is with mind steadfast in the yoga of renunciation, sannyasa yoga muktatma, the act of offering everything on to the Lord constitute the yoga of renunciation. So it is also yoga as it is also yoga as it is an action with the mind endowed with the renunciation. Yoga thus shall be freed from the good and evil results. While at living, though shall come unto me, when the body falls, an objector says then the Lord has love and hatred. He confers his grace on his devotee only, not on others. So yeah. his grace flows towards all, but the devotee receives freely as he has opened his heart to the reception of his grace. So so Lord Shri Krishna is saying that yeah, so, if even when we daily routines or the anything special we are doing, when we offer it to Lord Krishna, I will give the one example. When we offer it to Lord Shri Krishna, we will not be scared. Example, if we have if we are working under someone, the if we won't trust boss, we will be scared if we whether we are doing it right or wrong, whether the completion we will be able to complete or not. And when the boss is guiding, if we trust him blindly, we'll be able to accomplish the task. If we won't trust boss, we'll be scared of the result. And how it goes, whether we'll be able to complete it or not, we'll be scared, and we'll be thinking, and we won't be able to accomplish if we won't trust the boss. If we trust boss and his instruction, we can if it goes wrong also, he is there. If he is guiding, and he'll fix the issues also if we face any issues. If we trust God, we'll be able in the worldly life, we'll be able to accomplish the task without any fear. If you won't trust boss, we may face issues. So same way, if we trust Lord Krishna or Satya Sai Baba, we'll be liberated from this cycle of life and death, the karmic actions bondage. If you won't trust, you have to. I mean, the karmic action will be bound to us. If we do good karmic action, we get the fruits. If we do bad actions, we have to suffer. So when we offer it to God, we'll come out of everything easily. That is what the meaning of this verse. Any questions? When we take birth on this earth, we'll be committing five sins. That chula and germs, germs. I got to germs and all which is available, which are there in water, curd, and everything. So daily routine only causes so many five types of sins, and when we do some other work or anything, those also causes the karmic bondage. It may be Shubha or Ashubha, everything, Shubha, Ashubha, everything, the phala we should leave it to God by dedicating Evam. Any questions? Every action has a if we love it, every action has a defects. Just as fire is covered by smoke, when we walk on the earth, unknowingly we'll kill the some million tiny living entities in our occupational duties. No matter how careful we are in the fulfillment of our duties, we still end up harming the environment and hurting others. When we walk on earth, when we drink water, when we eat curd, and when we cook the food, every action has a defect. Yeah, like just as fire is covered by smoke, sin of destroying the living entities that resides in it. Some religious yeah, sects try to reduce thus involuntary killing. I said we can in the Narayana Upanishad and some other mantras also. If we read out this, if we chant this mantra, we'll be able to will be relieved from this panchapata kopapataka since it was mentioned. So even this does not fully eliminate the destruction of living entities in our breath. When we perform our action with the intention of fulfilling our self-interest, we are capable for the sins we commit. So when we perform, means when we won't dedicate to Lord Krishna, when we perform with our action with the intention of fulfilling our self-interest, we are culpable for these sins we commit knowingly, unknowingly. In accordance with the law of karma, we have to reap their karmic reactions. So when we won't dedicate our actions to Lord Krishna, in accordance with the law of karma, we have to reap their karmic reactions. Good work can also be binding because they oblige the soul to the souls to go to the celestial abodes to enjoy their results. So I think last few days before I visited Brahma Kumari Ashram. They do the all the actions. They believe that they will be born in Satya Yuga and all those things. So good karma also. They are doing so much good karma, but they oblige the soul to go to the celestial abodes to enjoy their results. So they want to go to the Satya Yuga, so they are doing the good karma. Good karma. Good karma also binds. That's what Shri Krishna is saying. Thus, both bad and good karmas results in the continuity of the cycle of birth and death. Here, when we submit everything to Lord Shri Krishna, we get the liberation. Here only we will not be scared of results and will not be bound to any karmic reactions. We get the moksha. Any questions? I think two, three Vedas it is mentioned. Panchapata, Kopapataka. Narayana Upanishad, I am not sure one more.
Even in Surya Upanishad it is mentioned Hatti, sister Hatti.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, by chanting Vedas, by 5 sins we can eliminate, but not the karmic actions which we do. If no questions, we'll just chant Shanti Shanti and
Sure. I think you can chant today. Fine.
Shanti 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 Sairam.
Sairam, everyone.
Sairam everybody.
Sairam.
Sairam.
Last week we had